Hi, I'm Tom with City Quail Farm. We're up here in the South Carolina upstate, and we're going to do a quick review on Hatching Time's 5-tier quail pen with watering system, manure trays, and the egg rollouts and everything. So this is just going to be a basic tour of this. Be aware that even though this is for the 5-tier, this has to do with multiple products that are on their site. So this is not just a product review for just the 5-tier, this is the product review for the single, the dual, or double, the tri, the quad, and the 5. So be aware of that. It also is going to encompass the 5-gallon watering system that they have separate, and also their manure trays, which they, I do believe, have separate. And they might have other things that are on here separately as well, but that's all I know off the top of my head. Alright, so to start off with just a tour, you have your watering system. The watering system is going to be a 5-gallon container directly on top. It actually sits nice and flush. It's going to be something that actually locks in. It doesn't actually like physically lock in regards to it not being able to move. You could make it move, but it sits like a puzzle piece inside of the top. So that's really, really cool. From here, it's going to actually travel and go all the way down the water line wise, and it's going to tee off into all the main pens. Something to be aware of is that if take for instance, you don't have enough quail, or if you just did a cull, or if you sold some of your quail or something like that, and then you don't have quail occupying the pens, you don't necessarily need to be able to set up the entire watering system. You can only set it up for what you need. So I'll show you that real quick. So take for instance, we do not have any quail down in the lower pens. So we do not have it connected down here. It actually comes off, and it comes with a plug to plug off wherever you need to plug off at, which is really, really cool. And we'll talk more about that concept when we do the review and why that's so important. The next thing is the pen. The pens are not too tall. They're not too small or too big, basically. We actually are going to need to expand here coming up soon because we're going to have way too many quail to be able to fit into these guys. So. The other thing is that the locking mechanism that they have, they're all made of plastic. Everything is put together that's plastic. So, you know, that may sound cheap or chintzy, but we had everything made of metal prior, and it has its pros and its cons. You have to figure out a way to be able to latch it, and then there's cost effectiveness that goes to that as well. The feeders in particular, see here real quick. The feeders are just basically a basic trough with this right here, this little grid placed directly on top of it, and it makes it to where the quail have to stick their heads directly down into there. They won't grab the food and just like whip it everywhere. So the reason why sometimes and you can see one of them doing it right now. There you go. They stick their heads through the front of the pen, and then they get their food. All right, so that works really, really great in regards to keeping the feed off the ground, which is something that you do not want because these guys are messy eaters. The next thing is the manure trays. I'm going to go into more detail about that, but something to note, I'll just pull the bottom one off because we don't have any quail in this one. These manure trays are basically look like you know, animal kennel pens. The only reason why there's any manure in here is because we actually use the bottom one to be able to clean out the rest of them. So we'll pull one out, take the bottom one, and stick this in. So this thing does have, it is shared amongst the others. I'm going to have to grab some other manure trays. These things run, I think, about 20 bucks on their site at this current moment, I think, which is actually really reasonable comparatively to all the dog kennel and the oil drip pan options that a lot of people use. We used something you can get at Home Depot, which was a greenhouse solar panels, not to be confused with the solar panels that collect the sun, energy, and all that other stuff, but just basically these translucent little lightweight pieces of plastic. I'll show a picture of what it was that we did use, but those don't have lips on them, and whenever there's any type of water spills or anything like that, or a big accumulation of manure, this has a greater propensity of catching it. It's really durable, it's lightweight, it's pretty awesome, and it's really reasonable for what you're getting. Okay. And these things just sit down here. One thing also to note is that the entire cage, the entire apparatus that all the pins sit in. I'm going to take the video again real quick. Okay. You can see the framework. The framework actually locks in as well. This is really fantastic because, again, if you don't have as many quail as you want to expand, you don't have to put it in the 5-tier. You can make it a 2-tier, you can make it a 1-tier, you can make it a 3, a 4, that type of thing, etc., etc. And again, because of the watering system, it makes it to where you have those options. Really fantastic. The egg rollout trays work great. We very rarely have to go into the pens to get stuff. Sometimes it gets kind of stuck on some of these little braces that are in here, but it's very, very rare. I'm trying to think if there's anything else before we get into the actual review. Anyways, that's basically it. All right, let's talk about what it is that we are experiencing. So check this out. First of all, this is not only our experience with Hatching Time as a company, but they're also their product. So this is not a paid review or anything. We love this system. It is fantastic. The system that we had prior, we liked. We built it ourselves out of 1/2-inch mesh. Hardware cloth, and it had an egg rollout tray, everything, and all of that works fine. But there's a lot of research and a lot of things that you have to do yourself to make sure that the actual system works. And this is just proven, meaning that like once you get this, you don't have to do any tweaks. It really works fantastic. There was a couple little things that we could talk about which are negatives, but these aren't negatives necessarily for the product. They're negatives for what you would be dealing with no matter what system you're using, which we used a 5-gallon bucket with, just basically a shut off to where we would actually feed all of the cages that we had with water, and we had the same exact issue. So this is not a knock on the product, it's just something to be aware if and when you do decide to get this system. So we had an algae buildup in here, and it did eventually clog up let me show you what it clogged up here real quick. It clogged right up in here, and you can still see some of the algae. We've actually cleaned it out on a regular basis with just basically a little aquarium tank algae cleaner. But what happened was it got clogged, and it did not allow for any of the water to get through to any of the pens. So what we had to do is we had to unclog it, and then what we did was that we tried to find the solution for it, which I kind of already knew based off different forums, just to treat it with apple cider vinegar with the mother. We did that, and as soon as we did that, we had 0 issues with algae and buildup, which is great. There is still some algae in there, but it's not blocking and clogging and everything like that. So that's the watering system. That's kind of the situation that we had to deal with, and it wasn't that big of a deal. Let's see here, what else is there? The troughs are very, very simplistic. You just kind of slide them in. They lock in, not kind of loosely, and they don't really go anywhere. The only thing I would say is that, again, if and when you decide to get this, the easiest thing we have found is that if you need to get in to be able to access any of the quail, you need to take this thing out first, then you can have access to the locking mechanism. The locking mechanism, let me show you what that looks like real quick, is this little guy here. It's very, very simplistic. It just opens up, and it can come up over the top, but ultimately it's a lot easier to deal with when you take out the trough. Let's talk about, let's see here, what else is there? The manure trays are great. They have very, very low amount of manure that falls off the side. In fact, we actually, check this out, we have more manure that falls off the come out through the egg rollout with some of the eggs than we do actually it falling out, just because of the angle of the pen. So to be honest, it's amazing. So if we need to be able to grab any of the manure that comes out, we just grab some gloves, grab it, throw it away. It's not that big of a deal. The manure trays are great because they have the lip on them. They fit in here nicely. They don't lock in. They just kind of sit in here passively. I like the lip due to the fact that our previous manure tray, I'm going to actually spin you around and let you see this. This is what we were using prior. it was this type of material. You can find it at Home Depot. It comes in basically like a 2x8 sheet, and it took my table saw, cut it down into a 2x4, and we were using a drywall knife to be able to just scrape off and spray down the manure. What would happen is that if there was any type of leakage of the watering system, it would pool up and eventually spill over and things like that. It was a nightmare. We've had very, very little spillover with any of the waterers, and I'll explain that in a second. But when we did, the manure tray caught it, and it wasn't that big of a deal. We just pulled the manure tray out. It was already caught because of the lip. No problems. Went and cleaned it out. Now, why was there a leak? So I believe that there was a leak the same way that there was a leak with the type of system that we had prior. I think that and again, I could be wrong, but what situation we were having was that the final cup in the system had too much pressure behind it, and if there wasn't enough quail in our pens, the cup would actually fill up with water and then spill over the top. We replaced several complete systems of these with the nipple and the little yellow pecker thingy-majigger that was in there. They have to peck at it and the water comes out and stuff. We replaced several of them. I even replaced it with one of them that was known to be good, just to make sure that it was the system and not the product. And the one that was known to be good, that was earlier in the system, was having problems when it was the last one in the system. So this is with the cup. The type of watering system that comes with it is going to be a nipple type watering system that's right there with a little spillover cup that's there, which is great. I haven't had almost any issues. The only issues that I did have were when we had it hooked up into pens that we didn't have quail in at the moment, and we were just trying to get everything set up, and what I found was that a little bit of drips would come down, and there wasn't enough quail to drink the water, and then it spilled over. But when it did, it spilled over minutely into the manure trays, and there wasn't really a big deal at all. The assembly was fantastic. It was actually really simple and easy. We did get some of the product from the boxes were busted because of mishandling by UPS. However, when I talked to Sue, who is one of the company owners, it's all family owned and family run, she was very accommodating, a wonderful customer service. She ended up like next daying the parts that we needed. She just wanted pictures just to verify that, you know, we legitimately had broken pieces. Sent it. She sent it out, and we were able to get the problem fixed in the next few days. I have nothing really negative to say about this. I would say the only little things to be aware of would be, again, the watering system and kind of how that works. Make sure that you have quail to actually consume the water, or else it may overflow. But even then, the manure tray will handle it. And then the other thing would be, and this is a little one, we had, when we were taking our grow outs, which would be like our post 2-week-old chicks, fully feathered out, when we went to go put these in, we did have some issues with some of them nearly getting out or getting stuck or something like that, where they would almost get completely out of the cage. So what we had to do was we took some of this type of material, which is the hardware cloth, and just kind of zip tied it to the to allow them just enough space to get through to eat, but not necessarily enough space to get leverage to get out. That's the only little thing, but that was abated in like a week or two once they got old enough, and then there was no other issues. So, and that's if you're going to use this as a grow out pen as well. I think that is that it, guys? Mm-hmm. Oh, one more thing. And this is actually a small detail, but it is an awesome detail. These things have lockable casters down below. I love this. I was able to wheel this around in our garage to be able to get these things where I needed them, and did not have to worry about lifting the entire apparatus. Also, a small detail is that you can actually add, if you wanted to, extra tiers to this if you wanted to. I don't know if they've ever had anybody that has done that, or if that's something that would cause an issue. But it is something worth noting. Like, let's say that you just needed to be able to get one more tier. Well, you can be able to try to grab one more tier. I don't know if the other tiers come with this type of stuff. I don't know. I don't know exactly how all that stuff works from the website. But let's say that we had to be able to add a tier. You could technically add another one of these situations on top, and then just connect new hoses and everything like that. So, other than that, 5-star rating out of 5. It is fantastic. Love it. So highly recommend this product. Can't say enough about it.